Yep, Chief, this is what the crime scene looked like when we showed up. Probably a game night gone sour.
Looks like these gamers ran out of gum. Because someone bit the bullet. Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm coming to you with my first Rapid Fire Roundup. This is a new series that we've started on the channel. If you haven't seen one yet, the general idea is that so many reviews come through and not all of us can do a review for every game, and so this is a chance for other people that are on the channel to give their opinions on some games that they've played. It's not a full review. I'm not giving you any of my number ratings on this. This is really just going to be going in order from least enjoyed to most enjoyed. How about that? All right. So we're going to start off today with Jinja. This is an area control game, and I didn't really enjoy it. I found it very formulaic, not very distinct, nondescript. The powers that were a part of it I found to be not very interesting. This was a game where I really just felt like I was going through the motions. I felt like when the rules were done being explained, I was hoping there was going to be more to it, and at the end there really just wasn't. It was a very by-the-numbers feeling to me, area control game, and there are so many other area control games out there that you need something to set yourself apart, and I really didn't feel like Jinja did. Next is Bonfire, and this is from acclaimed designer Stefan Feld. Now, Stefan Feld for me is a bit of a hit or miss designer. I like a lot of his games quite a bit. I like Trajan a whole lot. I like Luna a lot, and that's why I really had some pretty decent expectations going into playing Bonfire, because just on glance, first glance, and on hearing the rules, I thought that this might give me some of the same things that I liked about Luna. It has a similar theme and an idea of kind of traveling around that I liked, but this just didn't work for me. It felt very, very disconnected, overly obtuse. I know that Stefan Feld kind of is thought of as the point salad type of a designer, and probably deservedly so, but in this game more than probably any other of his games, it felt like everything you did got you some points, just a couple of points. It's like, well, if I do this, it's going to get me 2 points. Although I could do that, it's going to get me 2 points. But if 2 points. It just, everything felt like it was just little incremental point generating, and it wasn't very exciting for me. So I was a little disappointed with that one. Next was The Great Race, and this is another one that unfortunately did not work well for me. I have a big issue with race games should feel like a race, okay? And this did not feel like a race at all. It was slow, it was ponderous feeling, it was overly random, an awful, awful endgame scoring where if you don't reach the final destination, you cannot win the game. No matter what else you've done, if you don't get to that final spot, you cannot win the game. And so I just felt like it would have been so easy for the designer to implement a system where you could still potentially win even if you don't reach it to the final. Sure, you get some negative consequence for not making it to the end, or the person that gets there first gets some type of a positive boon, but to not really even be in the game if you don't make it to the end, I think is a big miss. Next is After the Empire, and this is a game that I liked it a bit more than the others I've talked about, but I still wouldn't be one that I personally would recommend. I know that it's been getting a lot of positive buzz, many here on this channel, which is fine. I thought it had some interesting ideas, but it to me felt overly punishing, and that kind of battle system where you are defending against the oncoming onslaught felt really long and procedural and boring to me, quite honestly. That kind of is like the big part of the game where you've got this onslaught and hopefully you've kind of built yourself up in such a way that you can defend well. And to me, it just felt like a big spreadsheet of things to go down, and I did not really enjoy it enough to recommend it, although I think it has some neat ideas. All right, now we're getting into the games that I would recommend. Starting with CloudAge, an Alexander Pfister game that feels innovative to me and maybe a little gimmicky because it has a clever card sleeve where some of the card that you're going to be choosing is obscured by these clouds that are printed on the sleeves. And you can get some limited information by what the cloud isn't obscuring. So it's a nice thematic touch where you're in these airships, dirigibles that are kind of flying across the land, and you can kind of see what might be there, but you can't see everything. So I think it was clever. I'm not really sold on this whole kind of campaign system where the first couple of games, you're not really playing the full game. It's almost a tutorial system. But the thing is, I think in this day and age, you kind of need to hook gamers on the first game. And if they're only seeing a portion of it, they may not stick around to see everything that the game has to offer. And I do think that the game has some quite a bit to offer if you make it through those first few games. Next is Dive, which, speaking of innovation, boy, and gimmickry, it has both of those in spades, but man, it does it great. I think Dive is a really, really cool mechanic that is built around where you have basically these translucent tiles, I guess you would call them, and some of them have cutouts, but they're all stacked on top of each other, and you are trying to literally dive further down and gain the benefits of the sea creatures, but you're also trying to guess on what levels have sharks, and you have to kind of do some little programming behind a screen. Really neat ideas. I don't know that it has a huge amount of replay value. I mean, I'm not sure this is something you would play 30, 40 times unless there was a significant amount of time between plays, but I really did enjoy it quite a bit. Next is Genotype, and I love the theme on this game where it's kind of built around genetics and Punnett squares. You can see that my scientific knowledge is lacking here, but I really, again, beyond the theme, which I think is fantastic, it has a nice dice drafting mechanic at its core. I do worry that a couple of the cards, the kind of, I don't know if they're called assistant cards that you can draft, I think are maybe some better than others, clearly better than others, and so that might knock it down a little bit, but I really think it's a beautiful looking game with, again, a great theme and a clever dice drafting mechanic at its heart. Next is Let's Make a Bus Route, the dice game from Sashi and Sashi. I'm a huge fan of the original game, Let's Make a Bus Route, which was a flip and right game where you're all drawing on a shared central board. The dice game has something similar where you still have that central board that you're doing it on. It's a smaller player count. This is only 1 to 2 players, and it's using dice instead of cards. But it's essentially the same feel. I do like that it has a solo variant that also is going to improve its score a bit for me. Do I like it better than the original? I don't know. I think it really depends on player count. If you've got a larger group, then go with regular Let's Make a Bus Route. But if I'm playing with 2, I probably would stick with the dice game. And obviously, if I want to play it solo, it has to be the dice game. And then last up, I've got Ruination. Ruination is a game that I love. First of all, the aesthetic. The art and the theme, I think, are stellar. I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptics, or in this case, I think they're calling it post-apocalyptic themes. But what I really like about the game is a really clever card-based action selection system where there are really 3 actions you can take. You can move and you can recruit. And you've got those 3 cards that are going to be there in decks. And you just pick one of the cards based on the action you want to do. And it's got a couple of tracks that are tied to a couple of the actions. The battle system, the attacking system, is maybe a little bit longer than it needs to be, but it's a very clever system that I think rewards strategic play and some planning. And so I think the trade-off is worth it in the case of Ruination, where maybe the game has to take a little bit of a pause when there's a battle, but I don't feel like it's overly long. And again, I feel like the cleverness of that system makes up for the fact that it slows the game down just a touch. Because in general, I feel like it's a pretty snappy and quick game for what you get. All right, well, that's it for me this time on this rapid fire roundup. Hopefully you'll enjoy this series because Chris is going to continue to do them, Roy's going to continue to do them, I'm going to continue to do them. Who knows? Who knows who is going to come in and do these? So, thank you very much. This is Mike DiLisio signing off from Dice Tower headquarters.